everyone. Welcome back to Absolute Comics, the weekly show where I sit down with Sal from Comic Pop and we just talk about things going on in the world of comics. This intro's a bit odd because I wanted to surprise him with the Barbie trailer, so you're going to get his live reaction to the Barbie trailer right here on Absolute Comics. Don't forget, this show happens every Saturday. Every Tuesday, it's aired live at 5 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/comicstorian. Yes, we are back to that time schedule, and our sponsors are Into the AM and Gamer Subs. All the links are down below. Let's get into that reaction.
Oh, yay!
I knew you'd get a kick out of this. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Oh. I don't know what to expect from that, but I so want to see it now.
Yeah, I have no idea what this movie is.
It looks like a weird meta thing. They were going to the real world, and they were making quite obvious, hey, Barbie, 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 Barbie. You know.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it looks fun. I mean, the first trailer, thankfully, came out, which was that, like, parody of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So, like, it's meant to be weird, and I'm meant to be confused. So seeing this, I'm even more confused, but at least I know that it's deliberate. You know, it's not like this is a trailer from a movie from 1987, and I'm like, okay, so they just failed.
Right.
Like, this is deliberately bizarre. It's like, you know what's funny?
I think it did its job, though. It makes you go, what the heck?
I gotta see this.
I gotta see this. What is this? I mean, if they just tried to chalk it up as a Barbie fun adventure, nobody would see this.
No, this is one of those things. It's like the Lego movie. It's a very corporate decision. Who's going to make the Barbie movie? It reminds me of a time. Here's a really quick anecdote. I had this meeting once with this guy, producer, and he was talking about selling the Monopoly movie back in like the 70s or 80s. They were like, we're making they got the rights to the Monopoly movie. And they were like, who are we going to get to write the Monopoly movie? We're going to get the author of The Godfather, Mario Puzo, to write the Monopoly movie. And so, what? Why? Like, and then they hire him, and they're like, all right, Mario, we're ready for you to write the Monopoly movie. And so he takes the job. They ask him how it's coming, and he goes, once I get my effing check, you'll find out what the Monopoly movie's about. And then the move on, and it never happened, obviously, as you can tell. But, like, you know, they've been trying to class up clearly corporate decisions. I mean, the Clue movie, which is an amazing movie.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies as a kid. And seeing all the different endings to it.
Oh my God, no! It's practically flawless in execution. Yeah. But also, they're just like, oh, make a movie out of this board game. This is literally make a movie out of the doll. You mean like a documentary about like the development of the doll? No, a narrative movie. You mean like those direct-to-DVD movies like that are CG? No. A live-action one starring Margot Robbie.
Right.
Well, that does make sense, but like, what'll be about? That's up to you.
This Absolute Comics, I'm going to give Dan a proper intro when we get to the end of this because we're going to roll forward. The Super Mario movie just released a new clip seconds ago.
Oh, I just, because I saw reviews of the Mario movie, and
not good?
It's like 50% across the board. Awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait for this effing movie. I mean, like, I know that I just said, you know, people are not excited about it, or at least that the reviews are bad or middling, but I don't know. Everything I see about this movie, I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. I can't wait to see this movie. Yeah. I don't know. I'm in.
I 100, even if it's terrible, I'm going to watch it. It's like the Sonic movie when I saw the first one and I was like, this is going to be terrible. And you come out of it and you're like, I love Sonic again.
I mean, like,
I love Sonic again.
I saw that movie at home and I was like, oh, all right. You know, like, it was literally that. You know, it wasn't like watching the Smurfs movie where I'm like, don't. Like, I just never will. Sonic, I'm like, all right. And I'm like, okay. And each movie, they get closer and closer to, like, actual, like, a Sonic movie. Yeah. Where they're like, just get rid of the humans. But, yeah, I heard an amazing story. Did you ever see the 80s Super Mario Brothers movie with John Leguizamo?
Oh, yeah. I mean, who didn't?
Okay, so yes, definitely, right? Of course, we saw it. And it's effing bizarre. Dennis Hopper is King Koopa. Apparently, there's this amazing moment that they cut out, that they shot. I just found out about this yesterday. The end of the movie was supposed to be that they meet with the owners of Nintendo. And because the owners of Nintendo are like, we need to create like a flagship game. And so they tell them the story of what Mario and Luigi went through. And because there's a huge language barrier between their broken English in Japanese and their broken English from Brooklyn, that the story of the movie is misinterpreted and confused so much that it becomes the story of the video game.
Okay.
And that's why the movie is so, well, I mean, like, obviously the movie is so disparate from the video game because, like, they were insane and shouldn't have made that movie. But the reason in the story for why the video game is so different is because it's, like, a language barrier mistake.
Right.
And I'm like, that's funny. Okay, I guess I would have accepted that. It doesn't change the fact that movie is effing weird.
What I don't get about that original one is, like, I've heard the stories of why Godzilla got butchered in America and how they weren't allowed to use Godzilla again until, like, the 2015 era because the Japanese just Toei did not trust us with the license. I think it's
and they were right to not.
Oh,
because,
100%.
Like, they said you couldn't do all these things, and they were like, we're going to do it anyway, and we're going to give it to the director of The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah. So I wonder if something similar happened with Mario, where like that. But I guess we'll never truly know, or they'll say.
I mean, I'm
something,
sure there's like 7 documentaries on YouTube about how that movie got made.
That's true.
I don't even care. I just love the fact that it's like this weird relic. But I'm also glad that this movie that's coming out this weekend is at least trying to be faithful. And I'm saying that despite the fact that Seth Rogen is playing the Donkey Kong, but I don't know, man. Here's my hope out of this Mario movie. It makes enough money so they can make a real Legends of Zelda movie.
You're not wrong.
And they can launch Metroid, because Metroid should be a $200 million blockbuster movie every summer.
It should.
And it's not. And it's weird and it's frustrating. Like, Anya Taylor-Joy, I think, plays Princess Peach in this movie.
Yes.
Which I keep thinking is Elizabeth Banks. Every time I hear Princess Peach in these trailers, and I'm like, why didn't they just get Elizabeth Banks? She would have been great. But Anya Taylor-Joy could definitely play Samus.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would be fine with just a CG one. Like,
oh yeah, no, I mean,
I think we've said it before, but like a Metroid movie, but like set it like more of a chill version of
like
of
Lightyear.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Not even like Lightyear. Do like, but totally make it like a kid-friendly version of Aliens.
Yes.
Creepy, spooky, but like you could go all the way out.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, because like the
all
aliens...
you would need to do is not give Mother Brain a voice.
Oh, you mean like Captain N and the Game Master?
Yeah.
Where it's like,
just leave it alone. Let it be this weird alien, and we're good.
Yeah, do not give Mother Brain a voice. Yeah, man. But like, I want like a Disney Renaissance, and I would love to. I would love to see that, because eventually, inevitably, what I want is for them to get their MCU acts together and have the Sonic from the Sonic movies, Pikachu from Detective Pikachu, this Mario, and like one Zelda or Link, I don't care, and get them into a Smash Brothers movie.
I mean, that they have the ultimate multiverse at their fingertips. They've got, like, everyone likes to be like, Endgame had the greatest crossover and the biggest cast ever. It's like, no. Have you seen Smash Brothers?
Hell, just the first one, like, or really Brawl or Melee. But like, you know, I'll just take any Smash Brothers and just make it a CG movie. Just make it silly and fun.
We need. You're going to see Mario, right? So we should review that on Monday. That should be. We should
the Mario movie.
Yeah.
I hopefully will see this movie this weekend. I have every intention of seeing Mario this weekend. So.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, guys, now we are on Absolute Comics. Maybe we'll just start every Absolute Comics with us reviewing trailers that won't live as their own videos. No one's going to watch us review Barbie unless you're waiting for the Secret Invasion discussion.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair.
But if you guys like us looking up movie trailers that are not superheroes, seriously, let us know. We can make a separate show or put it in Absolute Comics. I just won't lie. It's easy content for us to make.
That's true. Mario is a superhero, though.
That is true. That is very true. Okay,
he's a Super Mario.
The actual conversation of this episode's Absolute Comics was I wanted to talk to you about the Secret Invasion comic versus what's going on in the actual show and what they're going to be cutting out and stuff like that. Having just reread it and then reread it this morning because I had to record the audio for it.
Oh, nice.
It's not a bad story. Now, I don't remember how much buildup did it take to get here, because the Secret Avengers are already kind of aware. So for those who don't know, it's an 8-issue series. It's pretty self-contained. Yeah. Tony Stark learns that the Skrulls have been invading everyone. They discover this because they injured Elektra or killed her, and she turned out to be a Skrull.
Yeah.
And so what happens is Tony is now paranoid, looking for Skrulls, A ship crash lands in the Savage Land. They go to figure out what it is. Luke Cage's Avengers show up. Tony's Avengers show up. They start fighting over who's going to open up the ship. The ship opens. Inside, a bunch of Skrulls, basically. Yeah. It's just and they all look like superheroes, and it gets even more tragic because you find out the Skrulls have been programmed to think they are the heroes.
Yeah.
So they're all sad and tore up, and just everyone's fighting, and it's a great battle of like hero versus hero.
Yeah.
But I don't remember how much buildup was there in the comics to lead to this.
I would argue that Secret Invasion had been hinted at from the first book Bendis was on at Marvel.
Okay.
They referenced the Secret Invasion in Alias. They referenced Secret Invasion in the New Avengers. They referenced Secret Invasion before the New Avengers in Disassembled. There's the big spectacular sequence when Avengers Mansion is blown up. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, there's silhouettes of Skrulls.
There is?
Yeah.
See if I can find
It's a double-page splash. See if you can pull it up, because it's, or just look it for yourself. But it's really, like, when Bendis pointed that out, I was like, no, there isn't. Grabbed my copy, looked. I'm like, oh,
I got my copy upstairs, but I'm not going to stop the show. Go find
and
the
go
book.
get it. No, forget it. But yeah, it is like it has been there since the beginning. Yeah, I want to say because I think Secret Invasion was 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least 5 years they'd been building towards Secret Invasion.
The problem is that Secret Invasion, like Civil War, was pretty bad, but.
Yeah, but it was also the most like successful and popular.
Well, I mean, pretty bad in the sense of like Civil War is pretty bad in the sense of what they did to the movie version, where they kind of butchered it. But
yeah, I liked Civil War the movie, and I'm glad it wasn't like the comic book, because the comic book like relies on a lot of history and comic stuff.
Right.
The movie is a Captain America movie at the end of the day.
And that's fine, and I'm okay with that. What bothers me about Secret Invasion versus the comic just has so much going on, and you could have built to this. I know we said it in the trailer, but this comic is not. So where's the Skrulls in this, real quick?
He's on the left there. Yeah.
Oh! So a Skrull was watching it happen.
Yeah, a Skrull was
right
there.
Here, for those who are wondering. Guys, definitely a Skrull chin, because they got that more protruding chin, like a Thanos thing.
Yeah, and his little mask.
Yeah. So the comic, I mean, a lot of people give it flack, because at the end of the day, it really is just Nick Fury and what he's doing while the superheroes battle. But I feel like the superheroes battling just adds to the whole set piece and everything that's going on.
It's the coolest part of it. Like at least it's the coolest part in the actual series. Like there's so much build up to it. And if you were reading New Avengers and even Mighty Avengers at the time, you were in the thick of it. Like you were neck deep in Secret Invasion. Once the New Avengers find the Elektra Skrull and immediately start jumping to conclusions about who's infiltrated what, and then assuming that like Tony Stark must be a Skrull, the Civil War must have been perpetrated by Skrulls, like we don't know who to trust, Spider-Woman, all that stuff. Like there's a lot of really cool like build up to that, and it was all just like no one trusts anybody, and it was after the Civil War, so everyone's already like upset and tensions are high, but like it also gave them a great common threat to fight when they inevitably do get their druthers, so you can undo or at least get back to status quo from Civil War. And it took like 3 years to finally shake it off. And when they get to Secret Invasion, when you finally go like it's out in the open, they're invading, they've already taken over, they like the 50 state initiative was created by Skrulls to have a Skrull in every state. Like that was so well executed and so well coordinated, and it was so fun to see the trap get sprung that when you're actually reading that book, which had great covers.
Oh yeah.
But like you, but when you're actually in it, and everyone's on the same page, and the hero's just like, "Oh, we have been caught with our pants around our ankles. Oops!" To have all the superheroes like get lost in the Savage Land and get distracted, so the Skrulls can take over. To crescendo to the final fight of like, here's the original Trinity back together. Although Steve is dead.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing that I think is important in the book version. Steve is dead at this time. So when he arrives, you're left with the question of like, wait, is he dead? Because they're all saying he's the actual Steve. And especially the Mockingbird reveal.
Oh,
where
yeah.
she's like, that's Steve. And you're like, wait, is it Steve? But like the other characters being like, we know Steve died. What is she talking about?
Exactly. No, yeah. Mockingbird's resurrection, the botching of Hank Pym, because I'm like, oh, Hank Pym's a Skrull in this. Can he have been a Skrull the whole time and you can redeem him finally? No. That was frustrating. That was like, no one would argue with you.
And I don't know why they haven't built up more to it. I get you want to give Samuel
Yeah.
L. Jackson his thing and he wants to do it, but the buildup has been very minor. Like,
Yeah.
we had the jokey Skrulls that showed up in Captain Marvel,
Yep.
and then they were kind of around for like 2 movies, and now we're going to resolve it all.
No, it's so frustrating that because Secret Invasion is one of those things where you can imagine after Civil War was adapted, every Marvel fan was like, dude, you could go back. After seeing Endgame and watching them revisit all the movies, you're like, oh, you could go back and revisit all of the MCU and say, like, this character was a Skrull, this character was a Skrull. I mean, they basically did it with Hydra, where they're like, this character was in Hydra, this character was in Hydra, this character was in Hydra. But, like, you could still do that. The problem, my issue with Secret Invasion overall in the MCU is that, A, they didn't do any building. B, there's no precedent for the Skrulls to be bad. The whole point of Captain Marvel is that you think they're going to be bad, but it turns out they're actually good. So to then go, oh yeah, no, but they're bad also. Like it's just you've confused the issue, and you've done it for nothing.
Yeah,
you know, like you've done it for this one show that was developed
just so you could throw it. And here's the kicker: they could have still done this plot, and this could have set up a bigger, more sprawling Secret Invasion. Like Nick Fury stops this, but he missed all of this. What I don't understand is why they keep taking the biggest names, like Captain America: Civil War. Yeah. Captain America: Civil War could have easily been Captain America: A Battle of what's that?
Oh, Avengers: Civil War. Like
it could have been Avengers: Civil War, but even that we could have built up to it.
Yeah.
You could have started having things intercross. I will argue that some of the best times in modern comic books was actually during Marvel when they were doing Disassembled, Secret Invasion, Civil War, all the way up to Secret Wars, because everything for like that 10 to 15 year period, you felt like it was connected, interconnected.
Absolutely. No,
DC. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Just you're right. Like, and it was all coordinated. It felt coordinated. It felt like it all fit in.
Yeah.
And it felt like one big story. It wasn't until like Siege that things were starting to go like, oh, is it all connected? Are you slipping?
I would go like Marvel now. About 2016 when they just started trying
now.
to do these crazy reboots. We're like, oh, we're starting over. Like.
Yeah, like
that's what it to me felt like. Have you lost the sauce? You lost the plot. You lost the plot of what we're doing here.
What's really frustrating is like it was all essentially Bendis. Like Bendis wrote most of the books that were not only flagships but also supported all of the build up for not Civil War, but like the Secret Invasion and all of the different ancillary Avengers books and
we had the same thing over at DC.
War.
I was going to say, DC had the exact same problem where they had Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns kind of passed it a little bit to Scott Snyder, and Jeff Johns worked on everything else while Scott Snyder did his thing. And like that period of writing in DC, while they were ballsy to do a New 52, pre-New 52, everything was kind of interconnected, and post-New 52, it was kind of interconnected, up until DCU, where they were like, well, that can't be what sells comics. Like, I feel like Marvel and DC, even though they've gone up, we as fans feel like everything is disconnected at this point.
100% everything's disconnected. Like, no,
which is why
I was
going to say, which is why I'm excited about Dawn of DC, because Joshua Williamson's writing half the freaking line.
No,
so
I
it's
agree.
Connected.
And that is, we're in a place that apparently we need to be, where one writer essentially is writing the biggest books. It's Taylor and Williamson. You know, they're the ones who are getting the attention, and you know, they are driving the line. And they're not editors. Like, they're writers. They're creatives. Like, hopefully the editors are on board and that they're able to execute it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I feel like there's so much pressure and a lack of leadership at both camps from upstairs that it's going to be tough for them to pull off. Because, like, I don't. You remember just as well as I do, but at Marvel, and speaking specifically at Marvel, for Secret Invasion and Civil War and even Siege and, you know, Original Sin, all these other stories, there was some heavy coordination, heavy marketing, there was some real hype. You know, even if people were cynical and upset about it on Reddit, like, the majority of the readership was like on board and buying the books, and like when there was an annual, they all picked it up. When there was a special book, they came up and got it. When there was an event, people had midnight releases and they showed up, and like there was merchandise coordinated with them. Comic book shops were like enjoying their the fruit of their labors. Like, there were posters and toys. And, like, it was a real.
I don't feel like
effort.
we have that anymore.
No.
And this does go back to the Secret Invasion thing, because I feel like it's because of the MCU. Instead of making a big event out of Civil War, like Phase 3, you could have still been building up to Thanos, and the whole phase was just Civil War.
Yeah.
Which resolved in them being splintered, which is why Endgame was such a big deal.
Yeah,
but,
wouldn't that have been cool? Like we got. I mean, I'm not criticizing the MCU leading up to Endgame because I was pretty happy with most of the pretty much everything. But wouldn't it have been cooler, like you're saying, if the reason Thanos was able to get such a foothold on Earth, the reason why the heroes were so unprepared for Thanos, and the whole like initiative. No one likes each other. Everyone's upset. Everyone's fragmented. Hell, you could kind of like it could have been like a soft reboot. You know, like where phase 1 is we're gonna field test Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. These are all separate franchises. They're all different movies. They all have sequels, but they're all related to themselves. And then after Civil War, we do Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, maybe some kind of Hulk thing, and they're all very separate and they're not connected and they're all about their characters, but also there's this cloud where they're like nobody trusts each other, nobody likes each other, nobody wants to coordinate, and you feel it. And and maybe there's an undercurrent of like, and Thanos is coming, not just a post credit where he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. See you in 6 years. Like, I feel like that. Yeah,
it would have been a lot better. They were partially separated for the beginning of Endgame, but it was resolved, or Infinity War, but it was resolved in like 30 minutes.
Well, I mean, it is a movie, so they got to wrap it up.
No, I know, but I'm saying like if you had done a couple of movies, or this had been a phase, it wouldn't have been man, we don't like each other. Oh well, I guess you found me hiding in Europe. Like,
well, at least in Infinity War, Cap and Iron Man don't make up until the middle of Endgame, like until the time heist.
Yeah.
So,
but and that's what irritates me about Secret Invasion, because that worked out in the end. I still feel like using the name Civil War was a waste. You could have had so many more heroes, made such a bigger deal about it. But Secret Invasion feels like another thing, because I feel like the show's going to be good. We'll enjoy it. We're going to like it. But we're going to forever be like, but imagine if they had set it up better, you know?
Well, if Secret Invasion had been a movie that takes place right after Civil War, and it builds on everything that it builds on everything from the entire last suite of movies. You know, like the reporter from Iron Man who sleeps with Tony in the beginning of the movie, she's a Skrull. You know, like different key characters that will not be important in Endgame when we do the big reveal of Thanos and we have everyone get together. In this one, it's everyone's together, but like half the cast is a Skrull. And they're fragmented, and they don't want to call each other. And so by the time Thanos shows up, they're like, we better get our act together. Like, we can't have another Secret Invasion. Like, when we're asleep at the wheel, Skrulls take over. You know, we need to be the Avengers again. Like, that would have been really cool. And instead, it's just kind of like this thing that's here. Like, I have no doubt that they will try in the most superficial way in the show to tie this show into some prior Marvel projects. But I don't think it's going to be as coordinated or as epic as it A, could have been, and B, should be to get people really excited. Because, like, look, I'm the one who's been complaining endlessly since they made the Black Widow movie that Black Widow wasn't a dark, melancholic, cheap spy movie.
Oh, it should have been 100%.
And Secret Invasion is basically that. But apples and oranges, man. Like, yes, I want that in a Black Widow movie. I don't want one of the biggest Marvel events of the of the decade that it came from to be a sleepy, dark espionage picture.
You want that big battle and stuff like that going on in it. You want what you were promised by hearing the name Secret Invasion.
Exactly. And like, I'm sure it'll be cool, but it won't be as cool as it could have been. Yeah. And the kind of could have been that would be ridiculous to expect after Iron Man 2, but not so difficult to expect after Guardians of the Galaxy, where you're like, oh, they can do anything. They could pull characters, and they could pull actors, and they could make it all connected, especially for a TV show, because the reality is Secret Invasion will not be viewed by nearly as many people as probably saw Ant-Man 3. And so, like,
it's still a Disney Plus project.
Exactly. It's a TV thing. Like, you could, should it be viewed by more people than movies because it's in your homes? Yes, but it's also a streaming service that people have to elect to pay for. So it's not like it's going to be on TV. It's not like it's going to have as many people that watch it as Breaking Bad. But but as a result of it being a TV show, you could get like nerdy with it. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did. And I don't want to necessarily say this should be like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because, like, look, I liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. enough, but like I didn't love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and there's a quality control issue with a lot of that show. But like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at least was able to get really nerdy with it. Like, the Absorbing Man was a villain in that. The Sif shows up. I mean, I'm talking about literally like seasons 1 and 2. But, Inhumans...
I was like, I don't think you watched after that, did you, Sal?
No, I watched way more than I probably should have. But, I
got to off and on with Ghost Rider. Once the Ghost Rider got pulled to hell the first time, I was like, all right, I think I'm done with this.
Same.
No. They're like, now we're doing LMDs. Like, oh. So you burned the
thing
entire budget on Ghost Rider. Got it.
The LMDs were a Skrull plot. Like, they're just, we're making replicants of people. And it's like, oh, that's what you should have done with the Skrulls. And that's what this will be, where it's like, oh, guess what? This character we just introduced is maybe a Skrull. Oh. That's not nearly as exciting as finding out that characters that we've seen and interacted with over the years have been Skrulls the whole time, or not. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's a little anticlimactic for me.
So let's spin it back to the comic itself.
Yeah.
If somebody were to come to you today and say, I want to read Secret Invasion, would you recommend just reading the solo trade?
No.
Because I'll say having just read it, I say it's a fine read.
I'm sure
There's
it is.
very little context you actually need as to what's going on with the characters individually.
Yeah.
Like, they give you the setup that Captain America's dead at the beginning. So you're like, okay, I got that.
Right.
And that Tony's now leader of S.H.I.E.L.D.
S.H.I.E.L.D. Yep.
And that's really all you need to know to read the main book.
No, it's true. But, like, the baggage of, the fact that the heroes have been asleep at the wheel for this long, the big reveals, I feel like they're bigger because you were there and you were reading it at the time. I do agree with you that I'm sure it reads fine in the trade, and I'll bet it's really cool. The moment when that Skrull shoots Reed is such a cool opening moment.
Oh, yeah, he turns into, like, silly string.
Yeah, and it's like, that's really cool. Like, that was a really... it looks great by Leinil Yu, and also... it takes Reed Richards off the table, and if you know anything about Skrulls, they have a real deep connection to the Fantastic Four, and Reed himself has shown utter disregard for them as sentient beings. So, like, there's some comeuppance there. But if you're just reading it like cold, if you're like, I've seen the movies, I want to read some Marvel comics, I just read Civil War, should I read Secret Invasion? I mean, like, you would probably enjoy it, and it's written to be like a story all by itself, but I think you're gonna like it better if you are like in on it. But I mean, it's a lot to ask because there's no real good comprehensive reading guide.
Yeah, it tells you how to
Secret
get
Invasion.
to it. I was like, because the only problem that I have with it when I read it solo and having not read any of the stuff around it in a very long time, like Sue Storm shows up. Sue Storm's one of the Skrull, one of the biggest ones because she affects what happens at the Baxter Building. I wasn't sure how long she had been replaced.
Yeah.
Like, was the real Sue right there? Did they just show up as Sue? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And I think that was my biggest problem reading it solo and not being fully aware. Like I said, I read it all back then.
Yeah.
But it's 2023.
It's been almost, what? It's been a while.
Years. Yeah.
It's been almost 20 years.
At least 15.
Yeah. Damn.
I'm just not sure how long some of them had been replaced for.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Jessica Drew had been replaced for a very long time. That was part of her
since
thing.
the beginning. Jessica Drew never joined the New Avengers. It was always Renanke. Yeah.
So where was Jessica Drew that whole time? Was she just a prisoner?
I think she was just I think she gets off the ship with the others.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that's her. She was like, I've been here for a while.
I've been here for a very long time.
Like it's her and Mockingbird, and that's it. And it's like, oh. And that was the only thing for me I was really disappointed in. My major disappointment with Secret Invasion as a book, as the main event, as the crescendo, I don't think it went far enough. Like, you're building this damn thing for 8 years. There better be some serious dents in the Marvel Universe because of this. And
I imagine if Cap had come off and he was actually the real Cap and they had killed the Skrull.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. I honestly... I remember the marketing for that. They made like promotional materials. There's a trailer you can find on YouTube that's like a commercial made by the Skrulls. There's really cool stuff for Secret Invasion, and it promises like serious change for the Marvel Universe. And I know that like the cynics among us are like, well, that means it's definitely not going to be changed. Ha ha ha. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but if you are essentially the only one who's guiding the ship for Marvel and you're a writer and you've written like a dozen titles for 8 years that leads up to this massive event, put a dent in the damn universe, like, because the event, they're Skrulls, right? They're Skrulls. They've invaded. They've already invaded. The idea is that they've won. They're already here, and they were in every part of government, superhero teams, supervillain teams are everywhere. And then Reed Richards like, I push a button, they're all Skrulls now. But like, deal with that. There's 1% of the population on Earth are aliens. Do something with that. Like, live in it, like Civil War did, because it felt like you felt these changes. Stark being in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Superhuman Registration Act screwing things up, creating the 50 State Initiative, building teams out of that, setting up status quos, the Back in Black era for Spider-Man. That's 6 significant, major, seismic, brand new ideas that hit Marvel because of Civil War that Mark Miller didn't write and didn't put in Civil War. And Marvel leaned into it. Secret Invasion should have been that too, where it's like, we can talk about immigration. We can talk about racism. We can talk, you know what I mean? Like we can, how do the X-Men, a disaffected group of people who are technically a displaced, endangered species of a race because of Genosha and everything, how do they respond to there being another displaced race of people who are religious fundamentals who believe that the earth is theirs, like a chosen people? That'd be interesting. And it'd be interesting to see that lasting effect. It'd be interesting to see the Skrulls in, affect reality and affect the societies they're in. But they don't do that. Instead, they're like, oh, Venom eats half of them. Because Norman Osborn takes over, which is a really cool change. That's cool. Dark Avengers is cool.
Because he was hiding off with the Thunderbolts at the time that all this is happening. So
that's cool, but again, it's not enough. Also, they could have been like, Hank Pym hit his wife, and he's never been able to live it down. We can never redeem him because he backhanded his wife. Well, that Hank Pym, the reason he had all these multiple personality problems, is because he was a Skrull. He was sleep raging for the last 30 years.
Yeah, and his mind was all messed with by what they did.
No one would complain. No one, or at least a drop in the bucket. People would go, "Oh, what?" You'd have Hank Pym leading a team, like he did in Mighty Avengers, and it was all about redemption, but nobody read it. And it's like you could have Hank Pym in charge of a team, or running the Science Avengers, and people go, "Last time I checked, Hank Pym's a wife beater," and then you could just immediately go, "Oh, that was a Skrull the whole time." It's like, oh, I guess I can like him now as a character again. But no, they don't do that. And they don't do that across the board. Who do they bring back? Mockingbird. Oh, boy. Now we can finally have that Hawkeye Mockingbird book that nobody asked for again. And then they did it, and nobody read the damn thing.
I mean, everything you're saying is right. I had one question for you that you might remember.
Please,
At the end of it, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage's daughter was kidnapped by the Skrulls. What came out of that?
Norman Osborn got her back.
Okay, I couldn't remember how she. I know they have the kid later, and I'm how did they get the kid back? I don't remember.
Yes, and they imply the kid's a Skrull too, but it's not.
Yeah, I was like,
no, yeah,
but
the
Skrull thing's kind of wiped out. I'm surprised, honestly, they're not doing another Secret Invasion. Marvel loves to kind of when
they did. It's already been. I think it's already done.
They did another one.
They did another one, and it was so secret that nobody read it.
Yeah, wait. When did that come out?
I want to say I saw an issue of it like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, Secret Invasion 2022 to 2020. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I did see these issues. What is this?
Yeah, right?
It was just the tie-in for the show. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's just trying to tie into the show.
5-part miniseries. That's not a Secret Invasion.
No. No. The Skrulls are back in a giant-size issue kicking off an all-new 5-part miniseries. Maria Hill detects the merest hint of Skrulls, and she acts quickly to put her defensive plans into action. Nick Fury is sent to investigate a Skrull sighting in Iowa, and he finds the last thing he expected. Our pale blue dot is in their sights, and this time Earth's oldest defenses won't work. Find out who you really trust. Like, shut up. And it's like... It stars nobody. It's not exciting. It's
It's just Nick Fury and Maria Hill. It's the show. They just made the show.
It's the show, and it's like, it looks like Iron Man's in it, but who knows?
I mean, I liked the Iron Man Chris Cantwell run. But
it was great.
Yeah,
this is written by Ryan North, but I don't know.
I think he shouldn't be in this thing if he's in that thing. So
probably not. I'll bet it's a Skrull. But yeah, it's just like, and look, Marvel did the right thing. In this case, Marvel did the right thing. Make a Secret Invasion book. Now, in my whole thing is, no, don't make a new miniseries that's boring and nobody wants. And by the way, I don't know if it's boring or not. I didn't read the damn thing, and that's the real problem, isn't it?
I didn't know it existed.
They didn't market it, and I didn't hear about it until it was too late, and I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
That's it. But hey, did you reprint it? Is there an omnibus? Was there an oversized edition of the miniseries? Maybe there's some kind of like a retrospective YouTube video you could have made that was but no, nothing. Just here's this book that stars people who look like the people in the show. I hope you enjoy it. Like the Falcon Winter Soldier book before it. Yeah, they keep doing that.
At least the Falcon Winter Soldier book was at least a fun plot.
It was fun. It was fun.
But
also Dan Mora drew it, and it was like, oh, I think he did this just the covers. But that was back when Dan Mora was like becoming a rising star. So you're like, oh my god, this guy, he's hot and exciting. Like, but otherwise it was like, oh, a Falcon Winter Soldier show, and it was out during WandaVision because the show got
lined
delayed.
up weird. Yeah, it's all got lined up weird.
So when the show finally came out, the book was done. Like over.
I mean, the fact that Secret Invasion comic is already over with proves that I was accurate, that show was supposed to be out a lot earlier.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely was. This book is like, it's 5 issues. That means it's like a 5-month. I mean, unless it was bi-monthly, but it's the right thing, but wrong everything else. They didn't market the damn thing.
Yeah.
And it's not exciting enough. Like, I looked at the covers. I just saw all 5 issues. What's
nothing on those covers made me be like, oh my god, the scrolls.
Especially when you compare it to the covers of Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it was 15 years ago, but still, like, they still know how to do it. They're not a publisher. They still have artists.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion and Absolute Comics being back on its scheduled time right here at Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to hopefully start doing these more regularly back on Tuesdays. That was the plan, that when we started the first one, we'd be coming back every Tuesday to continue the discussion. I'm just a little wore out, guys. I'm sorry that towards the end there, Sal just took total point.
I'm sorry.
No, that's why you're an incredible co-host, because if I'm feeling sleepy, it's like, oh, Sal's at a rant. Awesome.
I'll just ask him about Spider-Man and he'll freak out.
What's your thoughts of Spider-Man 2, Sal? Anyway, no, don't answer that. Don't answer that.
No,
anyway, guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next Tuesday right here at Absolute Comics.